Hey friends, it's Charles here, and this is going to be a series of videos for my YouTube channel called Let's Talk About, where I won't necessarily do a review of a new figure or a new comic, but something in my collection that I really appreciate or I have a lot of opinions on. I'm just going to go through it with you and tell you what I think about it. So in this first episode of Let's Talk About, I want to talk about my AEW Sting. I don't have any information on the box or anything. I believe I threw the box away. Like I said, this is in my collection. But the thing that there are lots of things I love about the Jazzwares AEW lines. First off, they really shoot for a good likeness. Well, I mean, if you look past that first series, the Rio in that first series was terrible. But you notice here with Sting, it looks like Steve Borden. You know, an in shape 63-year-old guy. You don't have the bulging muscles. You don't have the six pack. You know, it looks like Sting. When you look at other figures from other companies, for instance, you will see guys. I don't have an example offhand, but you know what I'm talking about. Guys who are generally smaller guys that are just ripped. Or, you know, a guy like Kevin Owens, who's a big guy, he's athletic, but his arms do not have striations. Yet in all of his action figures, he has huge ripped arms. And I mean, I guess that's okay if you really want to appeal to kids. But you know, I prefer the more realistic build, the more photo, realistic feel of the Jazzwares lines. And this particular figure is one of the more bare bones figures. I was hoping to find the one with the jacket, but I live in a small town in Wyoming. Not really a small town, 50,000 folks. But we don't get a lot of variety on the shelves. And Ringside Collectibles prices are just too much for me sometimes. So I got what I got. I found this at Walmart on the shelf. And I think this is probably the best example of a figure that encapsulates his AEW run specifically. You know, you start with the face paint. You have the classic Sting face paint right here. Kind of a throwback to what was that? The Crow and his late WCW run, and you know what he went back to throughout different periods of the career. And then on the left side, you have the skull Darby Allin paint. You know, which was to me like a rebirth of his career working with Darby Allin, and it wasn't like a novelty run. You know, it wasn't a thing of a victory lap. You know, the guy put in work. Him and Darby were a legitimate team, and I love that. And this aspect of it, right there, is more proof. And of that, and here's a Darby right here to compare that side of the face paint. You know, he really gave his all in this tag team. It wasn't a novelty run, and so I appreciate that about him. And we have the AEW shirt, the layers, the bat. You know, if there's any accessory that you can go without, it's not going to be Sting's bat. It's iconic. It's you can't have a Sting without the bat, in my opinion. So we have the baseball bat. And now let's talk about the shirt. You know, AEW, Sting, the cross baseball bats. Um, Again, like I said, a very modern figure. And one thing too I love is the pants. You have almost this football pad texture coming down here, right through here, and you know, the guy layers up. You know, he's 63, probably doesn't want to, take that much abuse. So of course he layers up, and I like that. That's articulated in the figure. And as we get down to the pants, you notice we have no knee pad, which I absolutely love. I hate knee pads on action figures. I think if they could find a way to integrate them into the actual joint, it'd be a lot better. But a lot of times you get a fully articulated double jointed knee with a knee pad that hinders the motion. Takes all the fun out of posing and photographing and playing whatever you want to do. But here we have double jointed knees, no knee pad hindering anything. And so you see the knees go all the way back here, all the way forward, no sticking. I didn't have any sticking out of the box either. And, the feet, they're pretty basic. There's no boot cut in them. But we got back and forth, side to side. And so you get a little motion there. And then the arms, single joint on the shoulder. But that's okay. I'm more concerned with double jointed elbows, which we have. You can fold the elbow all the way back, all the way up here. And with a lot of figures, when I first started collecting, this would probably be the most you would get out of a figure, out of an elite. But, and I believe WWE has started doing double joints in the elbows as well, which again makes it a lot, gives you a lot more photography options. One thing that drove me crazy when talking about the articulation is you had the AJ Styles figures, the first few, and when he does his pose, he puts his hands together and you see AJ on the gloves. But with all of his figures, the hands might come here. And so you have kind of a disjointed thing to where you could almost kind of manipulate them to do it. But without the double joints, you didn't have that option. That's something that they've rectified over at Mattel. And again, talking about articulation, we have the body here. It's a swivel, which I do prefer more than that hinge motion. The head, full range of motion. I name it Jazzwares. I have nothing but good things to say about the articulation. I mean, yeah, they probably could do, a butterfly joint on the shoulders, but it really wouldn't have made a difference because you still have a great range of motion. So yeah, he retired this weekend in a crazy match. I just saw the highlights. But the thing I do love about his figures also is with the Jazzwares run, you don't get a whole lot of redundancy. You have Sting with the coat. You have Sting without the coat. You have, every AEW Sting that has come out has been something that you can add to your collection and justify paying that price because it's just that little bit more different. And outside of a few people, Jazzwares is great about making every figure, every variant worth buying. Outside of MJF, I honestly haven't seen enough variety out of the MJF figures to justify there being so many. But I have two Kenny Omegas, two Penta Zero M's, two versions of LAX. I just, like I said, a lot of variety you can get there. And so that's it. Happy retirement, Sting. This is a great figure. Like I said, I love it that it represents his AEW run. You got half Darby, half Sting. Got the AEW T-shirt. Great figure. If you could find it, I suggest getting it. It balances great. In a matter of seconds, I can get it to stand up on its own. And so I've rambled enough about this. This is let's talk about Sting, AEW action figure. I don't have the particular series number. Like I said, it's just something I have sitting around in my collection. And next, I'll probably do a comic book. Let's talk about. I'm thinking, don't hold me to it, but maybe the Vampirella Dead Flower series. I just read that and really enjoyed it. So have a nice day, and I'll be back with some nerd shit soon.